Well, welcome back to episode 2 of She Means Millions. We are going to dive into a topic today that is hands down the number one most requested topic that we ever get asked about when we're on stage. Every single time we get questions about this, and that is, how do you work with your family?
What's it like?
What's
it
that like?
Like really like?
For real. And so I think that we are going to get real on this real episode. Mm-hmm. We're going to get real on every episode, but this one I think is a little bit more personal. Yeah. So go ahead and tell them how amazing it is to work with me.
You mean after he fired you the first time?
Listen.
No, you have to be willing, as parents and all that. Yes, to go there.
Yeah. It's real.
That is real. But then fairness, so that was different, okay, because I was interning.
Oh, this is interesting. Okay, keep going.
It was very low, I don't even think I was getting paid for this internship, first of all. Second of all, it was my exploratory years. I think I was in my early 20s, and you were trying to help me get into video editing, which was very savvy because you knew video was going to be a really big thing. And, had I gotten into that, I probably would be a famous YouTuber and not be here right now. But, it is what it is. So you put me in the video editing department. I was assigned to go through all of the clips and select and edit. And that just is not my forte. I'm really great at telling people what to do in that department, but to actually be that person was just not it for me. And so I wasn't really getting very much done. And I think Keith, who was the senior head of the department, was like, yeah, she's not really doing anything.
Because that wasn't the issue. The issue the issue was you weren't coming in on time.
I don't know about that. Was that it?
No, it was both. It was,
well,
it was both. Both things were happening.
When you're not passionate about something,
right?
But yeah.
But it is a message, that your dad fired you.
So what is the message, Mom? that you're trying to?
No, I knew that it wasn't her passion. That particular job and role. You know what I mean? And so that was the only reason. And I just thought, you gotta have the passion. You gotta want to do it.
Yeah, y'all had me doing everything. I was free child labor. By the time I could alphabetize, I was filing applications in alphabetical order. Because you had the printed files and ABC, all of the things. I remember that one. That one was a core memory that scarred me for life. But
stuffing swag bags,
Conference. Helping put badges together, putting ribbons on badges.
I remember asking you one year, so what is your biggest takeaway of what you've learned? And you said that I will never work in this office.
I said I would never work in a cube.
And there you go.
I never want to work in a cube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Slight modification. Okay.
Well, that's how I remember it.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't. But I mean, obviously I enjoyed working with the company, and I did, once I found my stride and what I was passionate about, I went down the makeup route, and y'all did hire me as a contractor.
We did.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of makeup for you,
yes,
celebrity science clients, started bringing in some of my team to do things for me when I couldn't do it, and I started to kind of get my stride more in that career.
When you were first learning to cut hair, I showed up at your school.
Yeah.
Allowed you to cut my hair.
That was
I mean, if I wasn't going to support you, I was like, how could I ask my friends to support you if I wasn't supporting you?
Yeah. But yeah, I did. I got fired. Mm-hmm.
And then you went out, though. What that did, though, was that made you say, okay, so I got to go do my own thing.
Well, there's a big difference, man. When Brianna is fired up, she really brings the magic. You know what I mean? So that was what was so important that time. Because, when you started that Makeup Artist Unleashed, that was a heck of a thing you put together. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, it's like its own miniature eWomenNetwork, but different, dealing with makeup artists and fashion.
Tell everybody what it was, because you did kind of pick. It is a great reflection of what you did witness and what you kind of picked up along the way and envisioned for yourself.
Oh, it's so true. I wanted to do my passion, and so I got into the makeup and hair industry. And I was having a lot of success getting really big clients and contracts. And I think that the reason I was getting those opportunities over my peers is because I did grow up around business and I understood how to write an email and how to follow up, and just the professionalism and the business acumen that a lot of makeup artists and hairstylists aren't taught in cosmetology school. Right. And so I recognized at that point I was getting these opportunities, but I'm trading time for money. I'm not going to be able to build a life comparable to what my family has built if I don't figure out how to really monetize this at scale. And so I decided to start educating makeup artists and hairstylists on how to run their business, not just how to be great at their skill.
By the way, is there anybody else doing that kind of thing? I mean,
at the time, I don't think so. That really didn't exist. There was a lot of makeup artist workshops to like learn how to do makeup better or to learn from celebrity makeup artists, but nobody was really doing the business side of it.
and you were incorporating, personal development too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Motivation, mindset.
Yeah, I had a business partner at the time, and I remember we were writing out the curriculum. So it was like a 4-hour intense like business part of the workshop. Half of the day was on the business side, and we're writing out the curriculum. And I'm talking about, we should teach them about people math because they're not with the right people. And she was learning all this stuff for the first time. She's like, I've never heard this stuff before, and she was really inspired because it wasn't taught or talked about. But I took it for
people
granted.
math is pausing and taking a look at the people you're hanging around with, and are they adding and multiplying, or are they subtracting and dividing?
Exactly.
Do they inspire you or
tire you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I grew up around this language and all of these, how you, what's another example? I can't think. The people math was a big one. Just even writing emails and following up, and the fortune is in the follow-up, and just all of those little nuances that I learned through watching my parents grow their business, I was able to take into the business class, but not only the business class portion, but even marketing it. I remember we wanted to host our first workshop, and I was like, how are we going to fill this workshop? We started posting about it, and we got a few interests, but it was a new company, so nobody really knew what they were signing up for.
Right.
And I remember every year my mom would take me on a mother-daughter weekend when she had her tour, because every year Sandra goes on the Sandra Success Summit, and she travels to about 20 of our chapters and she speaks at the chapter level, which I think, again, going back to the whole community conversation, is why eWomenNetwork is the powerhouse that it is, because you've never lost that hands-on touch to your community.
Right.
Even at scale, you always go to the top chapters and make sure that your presence is seen and heard and felt. And that loyalty, I think, is what makes eWomenNetwork special. And I witnessed you do that. And at the time, I was just going to have a mother-daughter weekend, and I would watch you speak, and you would then invite people into membership and then invite them to the conference during that event, and you would sell these conference tickets. And then we would have a great mother-daughter weekend. So fast forward to now wanting to sell my own workshops. I was like, I need to get in front of a room and invite them to my workshop.
Yeah.
Because that's what my mom did. So what rooms can I go in? Oh my gosh, I remember in cosmetology school, there was a speaker there, and he came and he invited us to a makeup thing. That's my track. That's what I need to do. And so I literally modeled my whole marketing strategy over what I saw with eWomenNetwork and what mom did at her Success Summit. And I would call every cosmetology school. I would get booked to speak. I would teach the students some makeup.
You would drive there or fly there?
Fly there, because we were doing these in Atlanta and Charlotte and Orlando and Austin and all over. And I would literally book a week and have myself booked at every cosmetology school in the region and surrounding area. And I would sell the crap out of these workshops, and we would get students coming and spending $1,000 for a day-long workshop to learn half from me on business, and then the other half we would bring in like celebrity makeup artists.
The other thing you learned from eWomenNetwork, how do you bring in people that people are going to go, oh, I want to go see that person?
Yes.
Your headliners, so to
Yes.
speak, and you got headliners. And some of those relationships are important relationships for you today.
Yeah, it's so true. I got to book, Oprah's makeup artist. I got to book a huge makeup artist who has since passed away, AJ Crimson, and he worked with Tanya Luckett, I think was her name, and just some other big names. Kelly Baker, who is still the brow artist to the Kardashians. I mean, really huge people that would really be the big draw. And then we would teach them the business. And then all the business aspects I really did learn from eWomenNetwork as well. So you can only connect the dots moving back. I think that's a Steve Jobs quote. You know, in life, nothing ever makes sense when you're in it. But when you're looking back, all of the dots and all of those little micro experiences that I had were really seeds that were helping prepare me for the woman that I was ultimately becoming. And then the events industry was exhausting, and I decided I need to start a way for them to connect, and I can monetize this without being burnt out on events. And so I started a membership.
Right. Well, you changed businesses at that point.
Yeah.
And you called it Beauty Boss Network.
Yep.
So there goes eWomenNetwork.
And you would think
Beauty
I knew
Boss
what I was
Network.
doing. You would think that it would all like have clicked at that point, but I had to come to the conclusion. Y'all probably knew the whole time.
We were watching it happen.
You were watching it happen. You're like,
And we had the person to hook you up with to build the back end of Beauty Boss Network.
Yeah.
That was a connection that Dad had.
Yeah.
And and then you did your big launch right after the conference. There were a
Yeah.
lot of people that were your raving fans and supporters that came over to that event and helped fill it. It was just magical. You were
was.
off into the races.
There's also this, what I call the junction of your relationship, is that, you know, after you had that internship relationship and I told you to stay at home.
yeah,
But then later, you know, you came back, and we had at that time a creative director that was moving out, you know, moving from the state.
Spokane, Washington.
And so we
We had a spare office. You were in it because you wanted to use our conference room for the team you had built.
yeah.
And so we were hiring, and I remember you wanted to talk about that position. You know,
Well, actually, it was me. I went to her and said, "Who do you know?"
Yeah. And I was kind of jokingly, not joking, like, you should just hire me, you know? And you kind of raised your eyebrows like, huh, that's a thought. And then I was like, oh, that is a thought.
Yeah.
and when that thought became more serious, right?
You started thinking about it.
You and I remember you and I one-on-one had a meeting in the conference room.
Yeah.
And I think this is very important for anybody in any family, that, you know, she wasn't going to get in and work in the company because she was our kid, right? She was going to get in and work in the company because she had passion for it. She wanted to succeed at it. She does great work, you know. And I remember going in the conference room and saying to you, so what's going on? It was kind of like, what's going on with you? Like, you know, why would you do this? Why would you want to do? Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah. You were like, you really got to explain this to me.
Yeah.
And that is a huge takeaway, I think, for anyone listening who has like a child that they are banking on being their succession plan. It's like, that child really needs to come to the conclusion on their own. And you never pressured me once. You know, you were always supportive of me going after my own thing. And it wasn't until the stars really aligned and it became really clear that, like, oh, I'm kind of already doing this.
Yeah.
And I could actually just do this at a larger scale and be an asset to the family business that my parents built. I've already learned so much from them. I think I had already invested. I literally paid for SOAR coaching program and gone through SOAR.
With me, that
with
was my
you.
program.
Yep. Your coaching program, your high-end
And
coaching.
that's where you got a lot of your content.
Yeah.
Or, now that I think about it.
Yep. And that's also where I realized I was in business with the wrong person and I needed to get out of that business. And so, yeah, the stars just all aligned. And I kind of came to the conclusion on my own that this is where I needed to be. It was never an ask or never anything I felt pressured to do. And so
Very organic, wasn't it?
It really
when I really
was.
think about it. There was never like a formal sit down, want to run something by you. What do you think about this? It was kind of like, this person is leaving and I need the kind of skills that you have. Who do you know like you?
yeah.
Or you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. And that you can't contrive with a family member. You can't force it with a
I mean,
family
I hear
member.
people, you know, that have, you know, son or daughter, or whatever the case may be, that's working in the business, but it's not really performing.
Yeah.
And
at
it's
a high
because
level.
they're not passionate about it.
And right, and the parents are like, yeah, you know, just giving it to them. I know when we had our conversation, I wanted to be real clear. Are you sure this is something you want to do? Is this seriously something you can be passionate about? Because I mean, it's, you know, you're going to be working. You're going to. There won't be any room for, goofing off, so to speak. I can't remember exactly what I said.
Yeah.
But no, you made it abundantly clear to me. No, Dad, I'm ready to go. I want to do this.
And I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure when I came in, it wasn't like, oh, you're going to come in and we're going to have a succession plan.
I don't think it was either.
I don't think that.
I don't think that. It's funny how I can't remember that.
Yeah.
That too must have been just very organic. We just kind of saw you as, working in the family business, but not really taking over the business.
Right. It wasn't until, I don't even know when. I don't even know how it happened or came about. But when I came in, it was not under the pretenses of, I'm going to come in and for 10 years, I'm going to work this and then I'm going to take it over. That was not, I don't even recall how that came about. But I do recall when we told the Foundation Advisory Council.
And they were like, don't announce it.
Yes.
Don't announce it. Sandra, people aren't ready to hear. They're going to think that you're leaving and this and that and the other. And Brianna still's too green and this and that and the other. And I was like, okay. And then that was in the spring. Before our conference. And then there was something that I got out on that stage and I just got this download, this prompt, this message. And I'm like, this is our community. This is, and how wonderful for them to know that there is a much more extended future than what I'm going to be able to deliver. And I remember it just came out. Did you hear me say that?
Yeah, it was. You were introducing me onto the stage for the Femtour Awards at the conference, and you were bringing me out, and you said the future CEO of eWomenNetwork, Brianna, and I didn't even know you were going to do it, so I kind of was like, "Hey, okay, hi guys."
Right.
Yeah.
But I just got this message
Yeah.
that I had to own it, and I needed to be, in my own way, it was a form of authenticity in front of our community. It felt inauthentic to know that we had made this decision and I wasn't going to share it.
Yeah.
There was something that happened to me in that moment that I just felt like,
Yeah. The dynamic of a family working together, especially, husband and wife, I mean, we've got some great role models when I think about Mike and Laura Herring being a couple that work together, you know what I mean? And that we admire and respect.
gravitated towards husband and wife.
Yeah, as I think about it, in real estate,
even back in Ohio.
Back in Ohio, there's a real estate couple, that work
became
together.
your godparents and that were,
Yeah, and our friends here, that are in real estate. But, yeah, we do tend, and, across the street, right? I mean, it's all over the place, couples working together.
Right.
But there is a dance, we had to, we went through some challenging periods.
Well, we still do with our staff. Our styles are so different.
Yeah.
They could not be more different. We are in alignment regarding, I think, the mission, the grand moonshot, the mission, the values, and that kind of thing. But our work styles are so different. And I would venture to say that I think people that work for you, Kim, would not want to work for me, and people that work for me would not want to work for you.
That's fair. I think you're right.
Because, it takes a certain kind of person. I'm a very kind of structured, orderly, deadline. And you're much more of you have a greater ability. It's one of the reasons why I fell in love with you. And it's one of the reasons why I think our marriage continues to work is because you have this creative, when you have to be careful saying to me, like, let's go and have, Italian dinner tonight at a certain restaurant. Because for me, the journey begins as we're, do you have reservations? The journey for you is as we pull out of the driveway, are you still feeling that? Or I was thinking about this, or I just saw this restaurant opened up. And it's taken me a while to learn how to kind of roll with the punches and discover that really is, what I love about you. But that can also drive me crazy working with you. So that's why we have very clear kind of shops. And Brianna, I think you're a real great blend, you know, of the two of us. You know, I think.
Yeah, I've reported directly to both of you at this point, and your styles are completely different. And I think
Which one do you like better? This is the real.
this is the real. I can't believe
Okay.
you're asking me this question.
It's okay.
I think my answer is neither, but I love you both.
That's the politically correct side of you.
No. but each have their challenges, right? I think that the older I have gotten, and the more responsibilities have been added to my plate, the more I favor your mom's style. Because Dad, you're notorious, bro. You're notorious for like coming or give me a call and be like, "Hey, you think you can come down to the conference room and have a little creative discussion? I just want to talk about the website." And I'm like, "What's the agenda? What part of the website are we going over?
You're right.
What deliverables are we trying to achieve in this meeting?" But you just love to have like creative discussions, and that's your style, and that's how you create new ideas and all. But I'm like,
Without a timeline.
or an agenda. I need an agenda. What are we trying to achieve? I need to know. And so, but I think that that's also a beautiful thing because I can come into those meetings and I can come into them and have a little bit more business acumen. I remember there was a story. I'm going to digress and go off for a second, but probably one of my biggest learning edges with working with my parents has been being able to compartmentalize between when they're my parent and when they're my bosses or colleagues. Because the way that I behave is totally different. The way that I would totally feel comfortable sassing my dad is not the way that I should behave in an office environment in front of staff members. And there was actually an employee who was reporting to me at the time, but she was in the department also working with you. And we were having kind of like a meeting about, you know, how are you feeling? How's it going? And she was like, you know, I'm kind of having a hard time. I get really uncomfortable sometimes in meetings with Kim, and honestly, it's kind of the way that you speak to him. And I was like, yeah, you wouldn't speak to your dad that way, huh? She goes, I wouldn't speak to my boss that way. And that was like, oh, shoot. Like that, to me, that was a defining moment in terms of how I show up in the environment that I'm creating for our team. Because this is not the time or the place to be the sassy daughter, you know? This is the time to be a leader and to present myself as such. And I really flipped a switch from that point forward. Even when I was feeling kind of frustrated or like, oh, we're not following the agenda. Instead of being sassy about it, I figured out how to be politically correct and respectful. And that communication piece, I think, is really huge, is assimilating and being able to turn on mom and dad mode versus Sandra and Kim mode.
Yeah.
And now I even have you both saved in my phone as Mama Sandra Yancey or Daddy-O Kim Yancey, because depending on the mode that I'm in, I'll say Siri, call Mama, and it'll call Mom, or Siri, call Sandra, and it knows to call Sandra. But it's really like you're two different entities now in my mind.
And I know it when you walk in my office and you say, Sandra, I know it's business.
Is that weird for you, by the way? It's not weird anymore.
Not anymore. I don't think anything of it.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's a delineation. It's kind of like I know what headspace you're in walking into my office. And other times you'll come in and go, hey, Mom. And I'll know immediately that it's a mom conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A mom-daughter versus a Sandra Brianna.
Yeah. No, it's true. Like
I'll come into your office and say, hey, Brianna. Or I'll say, hey, honey. You know what I mean? There's a way. For me, it's become a way to understand how we shift and manage the different roles and keep them separate and distinct.
Yeah. I think that's the secret to being able to do it effectively too. But I love working with both of you. I think that I favor Mom's style more. And I think that it complements you well because you can kind of, when I say you, I'm talking to Dad, Kim, whoever. You can kind of go all over the place. And I think now a lot stronger at reeling in the creativity and saying, okay, so what are we trying to accomplish, and making sure that we're walking away with productive action, that I think has become a skill set that I've developed within eWomenNetwork.
The thing that I've had to learn to do with you, Kim, is just to make sure that you that I'm honoring the time that you take sometimes, because your brilliant ideas sometimes really do come at the 11th hours. Yeah. I mean, it's never been like you are just wasting energy and time. Mm-hmm. You sometimes, I mean, there's times I go, that is the most unbelievable, brilliant idea. Had I wished you'd come up with it a month ago.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is I can't deny that while this is going to require rework and last minuteness, it is so the right thing to do, and to honor creativity like yours has been something that has been, a skill and a gift for me to be able to honor in you. It took me a while to do that, because I would be like, it's the 11th hour, you can't do that. We're done, we're ready, And I've learned to say, wait a minute here. This is Kim. This is Kim. This is his gift. And to slow down and listen. And sometimes you are just so spot on, and has caused some of the most brilliant things that we've done.
Well, it's really fascinating how we've had to learn ourselves, all of us. I mean, I remember how, you told me this, Sandra, but my emotions would show on my face.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so if I'm disappointed,
or
it just comes up, or disapproving, in a way that's not good, And I remember just making a change, making a change. Maybe it was as profound as that employee that was reporting to you that said I wouldn't talk to anybody that way.
You wouldn't talk to my boss that way. Yeah.
Yeah. But I so respect you and your ideas, Brianna's ideas. I know, and there's times when you guys have a concept that I'm not, rarely, but sometimes I'm not on board with. I mean, one of them was when we did the first Success Reimagined out of COVID and all that stuff, and I just thought,
yes,
this is not the place to spend this kind of money on something that we had not ever done well, so to speak.
We had never done.
Yeah, well,
We'd never done an online event, and now we're going to do
it was the challenge. It was the challenge, I think, that was like.
But the challenge was selling the event.
Yeah.
The reason for the challenge was to sell tickets to the event. And I didn't even know what a challenge was. Neither one of us knew what a challenge was. And you were on maternity leave with Tatiana. Mm-hmm. And so I'm staying at your house, actually, but trying to listen to challenges to understand, basically the anatomy of a challenge. What is the purpose of this? How does it work? And that kind of thing, so that I can turn around and do one your first day back from maternity leave.
Yeah.
That then sold tickets to our 3-day online event. And that was a real tough time for me in our working relationship, because I felt like I was, I felt like I was alone.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's critical that the other person doesn't feel valued, or there's empathy, and awareness about your feelings in your space. You know what I mean? I will say, really, eWomenNetwork really brought, put a spotlight on that for me.
Yeah.
In terms of just
the other one
more.
you weren't on board with, that we did anyway, and we've learned a lot from that and leverage it today. And that was when I said, people keep asking me, how do we do retreats? How do we do the kinds of high ends? Would I be able to, peel back the curtain and share with them all the tips and tricks and secrets and, that kind of thing? And remember, and I proposed, why don't we do a retreat on retreats? And let's call it that. Let's buy the URL. Let's take everyone to Thailand. And I proposed it to the entire executive growth team, and everybody was no. That is not a good use of our time, and nobody is going to sign up.
Yeah, it was so big. Thailand. My God,
We're going to take him to
that's
Thailand.
across the ocean. I mean,
And I really had to go away and pray about it, and journal and meditate, all the things.
what do you think though that makes? Because I feel, definitely heard. Hopefully you feel the same way. But in the company, I mean, today, what do you think is key to a healthy,
I think
business life and personal life?
I think our values are such that we allow everybody to say how they feel. And I think it's happened so rare. Like, I really can only think of two, but maybe there's another one I just can't think of right now, where we've really disagreed on something. But we've always said that somebody's got to make the decision. I mean, there's got to be somebody that ultimately makes the decision when we're in a disagreement. And you have been honorable enough to say, Sandra, that should be you, because after all, our audience is women. And I'm going to wake up every day as a man. I'm not always going to see things the way you see them as a woman. And what we've said was, okay, so when we walk out of this room, we may not all be united in terms of wanting to do something, but once the decision is made, we're going to all walk out of here and support it 100%. And I think that was, when we figured that out, I think that became a real critical component for our success, both in marriage and in business.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're going to make this decision, right? And then the other person can't say I told you so, or I never wanted to do this, or hit a roadblock. See, I told you this was going to be. No, we decided that we were going to support this decision, regardless of whose idea it was.
Yeah.
Once we make a decision, we're supporting it. I mean, we're all 100% in. There's no holding back kind of thing.
What do you think is the key? This is really for both of you. What do you think is the key to us having a healthy work relationship today? You know what I mean? For you, that supports you in the right way, Now, understand, we've all been around people where, one spouse makes a recommendation and the other one rolls their eyes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Oh, yeah.
Does the old roll your eye thing or what the case may be.
Yeah.
Not
Not a good look.
not a good look. Not a good look,
I do think it's the united front that we ultimately, we have a fundamental value around when we walk out of the conference room or when we get off the meeting on Zoom or whatever the decision is, we're all in and we're all going to do whatever it takes that's in our shop to make sure that decision is given its best chance to work.
Yeah. What about you, Brianna?
I think it's just doing what I say and caving into my beliefs on everything is the key. No, no, I think honestly, I think I take for granted the open and transparent communication. There is definitely a respect level that you have to have in front of your team, because you don't want to create that kind of toxic work environment for the people around you. So I think that is critical. And then if there is a strong disagreement, that it's handled more privately, because as family, we can be a lot more candid with each other about how I really strongly see this differently.
Yeah.
Like I really want to put my foot down on this, but I won't sometimes press that hard in front of everyone. I'd rather do that privately, because then puts other people in an awkward situation. And then they feel like, mom and dad are coming down on Bree, or Bree's.
There's cracks in the foundation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you don't want that. So I think that creating a solid foundation for your team is important. And then having really transparent communication privately. And, sometimes it is hard because we're passionate about the business. The business is your third baby. And, to me, it's my sibling. So I love this business. You know what I mean? And so when we disagree about something, it is very personal.
Yeah.
The business is personal. It's not totally separate, and it's not just a black and white. And so I can, if I don't feel good about something, leave the office and bring it home and feel frustrated about it, because it's not just a business. It's so much more than that. And so
it's not a job.
it's not a job, it's a calling, and it is something that I'm incredibly passionate about, as are you. So I think that I value the fact that we can have open and transparent and honest communication. And it's something that I have certainly taken for granted that we have this ability to do, because it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to do it.
Oh, totally.
And I've learned that with working with friends, because I've brought friends in that I love, that come from other worlds, that I've brought in as contractors, that have had really strong relationships with, both personally and professionally, but it started out personal, and it's never ended well. And it's unfortunate to say that, but it's the truth. And I think I just take for granted. I can say to somebody, hey, it's really important, if we're going to work together, that you know that the minute something feels off, that you have to tell me. You have to communicate that with me. And I can say that all day long. And maybe it's a woman thing, because I haven't admittedly done this with very many men. It's always been with women that I bring in, that I'm friends with, that we'll start to do some work with. But they always hold things in, and they always let it bubble up, and then it always turns into an explosion. And I think the key to working with each other is never letting something get to that boiling point where now you're having an explosion. If you can keep everything at a simmer level, it's never going to boil over. And I think that that's been our key to success. And whether you're working with family or friends, making sure that not only you have that understanding, but you live that understanding. That you don't just say you're going to be transparent when something's bothering you, but you are transparent when something's bothering you. And it's easier said than done when it's an uncomfortable conversation,
Yeah.
One of the things I want to say that I admire about you, Brianna, is that we had a meeting not too long ago with someone that has been that we've relied on, that's provide our technology and that kind of thing for a very, very long period of time. And he was, before that, even a friend of Kim's. And so their relationship even goes way back, talking well over 20 years. And he recently came into a meeting, and he's worked with our executive growth team, which is the core executive team, for many years. And he knows everybody. And we had a new member. And so when he came into the meeting, I started providing him a longer introduction. We didn't get to the agenda right away. And I was explaining the new team member and how we've known her for 18 years and just all the things, not realizing that you were like, why is Mom?
Yeah, I was like low-key getting irritated.
Why
like,
is Sandra on
get
this
to
tangent?
the meeting. Yeah.
Right? And but what I loved about that is you really didn't say anything during the meeting. But that evening, you actually called me at home and you said, hey, how did you phrase it? This might be a mentor moment or something like that.
Yeah, this is a learning moment for me.
Yeah. Tell me what was behind the amount of time you took to explain the new team member, to our top tech guy. He was the owner of the business. And when I explained, he's known us for so long and this is a brand new face, and I know how private he feels and how attached he is to our success and that kind of thing. I just wanted him to know this is a new team member, has a long history with us that we are so excited, to have on the team, et cetera. And then you said, okay, now I got it. I never did say to you, I've been wanting to, but I never did say to you how amazing I felt in terms of how you handled that. Yeah. It was just a real moment. You'd thought about it. It was clear to me you'd been thinking about it for a couple of hours, and you wanted to get that clarity before you went to bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I appreciated it.
Well, thank you. It's true. Sometimes, sometimes y'all can be long-winded on things. And as a millennial, and I know the Gen Zs are even worse, we like to move really, really fast. And so sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, this feels like overkill of information. Can we just get to the point? But I think one of the better lessons that I've gained from working so closely with you and seeing the success that you've built is recognizing that sometimes it's okay to slow down in order to speed up.
Yeah.
So why don't we each give our top, whether it's 3 or top 5, whatever they are, But and I don't mind starting and go first so you can see where I'm coming from on this. But your top 5, let's say, suggestions or critical areas of critical concern that couples working together need to be mindful of.
I have one.
You have one? You want to go first?
You can. I just know I don't need 5. I have one.
You have one. Well, daggone it, what's your one?
My one is be clear on your sandboxes. What I really do believe is that I don't get into your sandbox without being invited or asking for permission. And you don't get into my sandbox without either being invited, hey, Kim, I need your idea in this, or asking for permission. Hey, Sandra, I'm seeing something, and I know that this is in your shop, and I want to talk to you about it. I want to share some thoughts. And whenever we have done that, it has always worked out really well. And whenever we violate that, there's always a little bit of a tension.
Yeah. So mine is one, I like that communication piece you did with your mother where you had a concern. You didn't bring it up then at the meeting. You called her later and talked about it. But I happen to like that. I think that's really, really great. I know personally, I've noticed you not being as reactive to things and giving yourself space so you can think about it, reflect on it, or whatever the case may be, and give patience and, again, empathy to the person that you might be engaged with. In this case, with me, I really appreciate it. All right. Are you tracking with what I'm saying?
I am. Yeah, no,
Okay.
I've definitely worked very hard at consciously
I can tell.
deciding is hood me or healed me going to show up on this meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, I've really noticed that. I think, especially for the male counterpart in the relationship, and I said this before on stage, men are really simple with this. They just like to know what it is. Mm-hmm. It's almost like, guys can get hit with something that's bothering you in the same way that a person is driving down the street and somebody honks at you like you're doing something wrong, and you're looking around and saying, what did I do wrong? I mean,
yeah,
you honked at me. I mean, I'm looking at what did I do?
Yeah.
But no, you're way over in the other lane. You could hit that other person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think it's so vital that you explain to the person, what's going on or how you're feeling, and not letting things mount up. What I used to call it pancake. Here's something, here's bothering me, here's something, here's bothering me. And so, you got this pancake of emotional things that he has no idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think it's very important for couples to talk about. And I think it is also being honoring, and believe it or not, this is a big thing, but what is communication? All of communication is 7% is the actual words, right? I think it's 35% is tone. 30 is tone of voice, and then 55% is body language. Now, just think about that for a second. How important your tone is, to make that connection where the tone is not elevated. It's a big thing. I see that. It's amazing those times when someone's maybe in the office for some studio work, we're doing something, and they're talking to someone else, and I hear something come out of them. I'm like, whoa, like, man, not only was your tone, abusive, but also your message. I mean, how you framed it. And they were talking to their husband, I mean, those things, that tone of voice and body language I've had to learn to really pay attention to that. I think those are key. And then my last one are the 3 T's, 3 T's, time, touching, talking. You have to spend time. I don't care whether it's going to a movie or holding hands or whatever, but, you have to spend time with the person. You know what I mean? Touching their heart, touching their emotions, physically touching them, and talking. I mean, having that conversation. I've appreciated the times that here, especially recently, where it's like I didn't bring my phone. I didn't do this, even though I know
every now and then he'll ask me something. Kim's great for saying, how old is so-and-so? Or you know what I mean? And I'm the one that goes, hey, sorry, how old was Robert Redford when he passed away? Whatever it might be, you know. And what I've been doing is leaving my phone at home, just really trying to detach, because when I have it, it's very easy for me to get distracted, and I'm trying to give you more of my attention.
Well, it's also, you know, you want to share the scenery with the person that's sitting next to you instead of the
What's
person.
your final thought on what you've learned?
So much. I mean, you two both touched on really big ones, but I think that the big takeaway I'll add, which we've kind of already spoken to, is being able to compartmentalize who you're talking to in that environment. You know, for me, as the next generation working with their mom and dad, you know, the way that I interact with my mom and my dad at home or in the house that I grew up in, or, you know, it's different. It's different than when you're in a professional environment. And when you are trying to be a leader in that environment, making sure that you set that tone, because people do look at me. I feel that I have almost like a higher expectation to uphold an image because I'm representing you, and people almost expect the, you know, child coming into the business to have an air of entitlement. And so it's really important to me to never, ever come across as an entitled kid that's coming into this business, but also to set the tone for how we treat each other, because I think that how I learned how I act and the way that I might interact, or, you know, who I might go to vent, right? You know, most people, if you had a rough day at the office, you could call your mom and vent, you know, but who do you call when you're venting about your mom? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you need to know who's a safe space. And for me, that's my husband, you know, not that I'm venting about y'all often, but you know, you have to have that safe space. And recognizing who is that safe space. It is certainly not a coworker. That is an absolute never. You can never speak negatively about your family or your bosses or anything that's happening in the office to a coworker, and you have to treat everyone with respect. And that is something that it's a skill that I've had to develop and to learn. And I think that any next generation family member coming into a second generation business has to really hold up the mirror to themselves and make sure that they're really holding that standard for their parents, but also for everybody on the team.
Good.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
I almost called that a wrap.
All right.
Wrap.
All right. Well, until next time, she doesn't just mean business. She means millions.
Millions.